Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's a cold and very overcast Friday morning, Friday Sydney autumn morning, and for Greek Orthodox or for Orthodox Christians throughout the world, today we are celebrating a solemn event known as Great Friday or Good Friday. The Eastern Orthodox Easter is 1 week behind the Easter that was celebrated by the Roman Catholic and Anglican Christians, which was last weekend. Anyway, it's Friday. It's the start to the weekend. It's the end, the last few days of Pascha, a day that will have me and my family going to church this evening and basically creating an opportunity for me and my family to gather together as family members, and also to gather together with other members of the community in an event that happens every year and will continue to happen every year for as long as we have our health and our faith. Anyway, today I'm going to do a book summary, and it's quite timely that I've come across this book summary. For those who know me well, I get up early in the morning, jump on a bus, and basically identify a book summary online, a free book summary that somebody else has kindly summarized. And what I do is I take that summary, pick out some points, some talking points, and present my own version of that book summary, highlighting and showcasing the beauty of Sydney at this time of the morning. Hence it's named my 5am Club, Jim's 5am Club. And what we try and do is we try and take some of the life hacks from these books, some of the keys, and use them where possible to leverage ourselves and to learn something new, something that we can incorporate into our daily lives, and something that hopefully we can pass on to others to make their lives a little more interesting and more productive. So today's book summary is entitled The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. It was published on the 15th of May 2018, so it's over a decade old, but the messages are timely and will continue to be timely regardless of when you read this book or when you listen to this vlog. So this is my number 1322nd vlog. I try and do one a day, especially during the business days where I get up half an hour early, come into the city, come up here. This is by far my favourite haunt, coming up to the International Passenger Terminal, and I'm standing on the platform just above the Quay restaurant. But as you can see from where I'm standing, it is an absolutely magnificent view of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I swing around and I've got the whole cityscape to my right, and I can continue just to circle here, and as you can see, it's just absolutely magnificent. We've got Campbell Cove down there, and in the distance, what we won't see today is the rising sun or a sunrise. but focused there and silhouetted against that cloudy background is the Opera House, a place of gathering and a place of wonderful gathering, a public space that showcases theatre, music, ballet, opera, you name it. The Opera House is one of the grand locations throughout the world, and a place where I've been many times to watch performances and to gather with other people. So this book is all about The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker, where she goes a little bit deeper and talks about the purpose of gathering and how to make gatherings more effective and more productive. So rather than just hanging out with people for no particular purpose, adding a new dimension to that concept and shaping and working a gathering that has purpose, has meaning, and has a deeper meaning. For Priya Parker says that there are deeper meanings for why we gather. Now, as humans, we have always been wired to be social, and we depend on it for our survival, both mentally, or including mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And there are a number of reasons that I can quote as to why we need to live in harmony and in connection with other people, and why we gather and should continue to gather often as possible, more so physically than on social media or the internet. The physical gathering is by far the greater form of gathering. But if we go back in time from a biblical perspective to the creation of man, the creation of all creation, the biblical account is that God created man, fashioned man out of clay, and that man was Adam. But Adam on his own was lonely, and it wasn't good for a person, regardless of what you're surrounded with. From the biblical accounts, Adam was lonely and miserable. So God, in his wisdom, decided to provide Adam with company, with a partner, and fashioned Eve, and hence began the first gathering of Adam and Eve. And from there, family was created, and the history of gathering and coming together of people was established for the first time. And the author here goes on to also say and to articulate in a lovely way, I love the way they say this, that gatherings start the moment that people become aware of it. When we become aware of the existence of a gathering is the actual time that the gathering actually begins and commences its life. So the author then goes on to say that given this account, it's important where possible. It's not only important, but it's critical to prep people for a gathering. And there's a number of things that we can do to prime things in advance and to get people in the right mindset, so that, as we said before, that we're in a position to be able to maximize the opportunity of the gathering and make it as fruitful and as useful as possible to all of those who have dedicated their time to celebrate the coming together of people. The author says here that you can do things in advance to prime things. And we'll go into that a little bit later, but it's just about bringing it to the fore and making it top of mind. But we can make gatherings, we can make meetings, we can make congregations, parties much better if we do things to prime people in advance. The other thing that the author talks about here, which is quite interesting and I guess it's quite topical at this time of year, at Easter for Christians and Christmas, Ramadan for the Muslim friends that we have, is that when you get together in gatherings, there is also an amount of tension that is generated as well. But Priya in her book says that the best gatherings, believe it or not, are the ones that generate and have tension. They have heat and they cause controversy in some way, shape or form. Another gathering that we have brewing on the horizon is the national election. And as we all know, election time is a time of great tension, great controversy, where the leaders, the parties position themselves and prime us for the day that we go and cast our vote. But the reason why gatherings have this tension and controversy is that when we come together, usually there's something at stake, something important at stake, and it's critical that we manage that important event as best we can, so that we get the best possible outcome for all of those who have a stake in the outcome from that gathering or that event. And the author goes on to say something which I feel is gold, absolute gold, where they say that politeness prevents progress. I remember years ago hearing somebody say that the enemy of the great is the good. If you try to be good to everybody, if you try to be all things to all people, what actually happens is that you take on far too much, you promise way too much, and you're unable to deliver on each and every one of those promises. So there are always going to be groups, there are always going to be people, groups, communities that are not going to feel as if they're being heard and their needs are being fulfilled. But as the author says here, sometimes you need to be cruel to be kind, and trying to be polite and too diplomatic all the time may get you somewhere, may get you somewhere along the path there, but sooner or later you're going to be found out. So sometimes, and what I've found is the best leaders that I've ever worked with aren't the ones who just say the kind words and the make you feel good. They're the ones who are direct and set the expectations and manage the expectations, so that you don't feel let down, because you know from the very outset where they stand and what they are aiming to achieve. And sometimes political correctness, as we've seen in the world, and identity politics just creates a divided world and makes people come together in small groups because they've got a common enemy or a common gripe. But it doesn't offer a solution across the board. And when you satisfy the needs of one political group or one identity, then you're ruining the whole thing for everybody else. And thank God I'm not a politician, and I've never wanted to be a politician, but to be a politician, I guess, would be a very, very difficult and heart-wrenching sort of job. Just trying to set expectation and just trying to do whatever you possibly can to give the best possible outcome to your country. But the author here also goes on to say that good controversy helps us, because what it does is it allows us to re-examine our values. It throws everything out into the open and gives us an opportunity as a family, as a couple, as a group, as a wider community, to re-examine what's important to us. You know, it allows us to set the agenda, set the priorities, and to understand that the priorities of a few may be good for those few, but they may not be good for the majority. And at the end of the day, majority always rules, and it's only when the majority have their voice and their needs satisfied that we can go on to becoming generous and more welcoming to satisfying the needs of the needy minority. But you can't satisfy the minority without first satisfying the majority. So good controversy helps us re-examine our values, our priorities, and our non-negotiables. So it's important to have non-negotiables. Otherwise, he or she who stands for everything will end up falling for everything as well. So what we don't want to do is be too open-minded, because being too open-minded means that your brain, your mind will end up being the garbage tip for everybody else's ideas and rubbish. So be careful, stand guard at your principles, and we need to have some non-negotiables, according to this author, because the whole objective of coming together, of being a community and working at something, is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to lead to something that is better than the status quo, slightly better. We're not looking for revolution. We're not looking to completely change the world, to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We're looking at keeping the things that work, fine-tuning them where possible, introducing new items, testing them out, re-evaluating them and seeing if they fit within our values, our priorities, and our basically, I guess, implementable. You know, not all ideas are what they're made out to be. You know, there are some things that are overpromised. There are some things that are said that, whilst they sound great and they sound productive and kind and all of these things, end up creating more problems. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to introduce things that are going to create a mess along the way and throw everything out of kilter. So this is where the author says that when we have gatherings and when we come together, we need to prepare the people, because the preparation is what is critical, because it sets the tone for the quality of the conversation. and it's critical. And the sort of questions that you need to ask yourself prior to a gathering or prior to bringing people together is, what do you want, or how do you want the people to behave? And by asking that question, the next obvious question is, what or how can you prime that behaviour ahead of the gathering? And the warning, the call to action from this author, is that we need to be careful that we don't try to do too much. So rather than multitasking, the author invites us to mini-task or to mini-purpose our gatherings, so that we come together not to achieve everything that we've ever wanted to achieve in the one meeting, because that's just going to lead to confusion and to controversy, but to keep it focused, to keep it simple, to make it easy for people to make decisions, to make it easy for people to come to one mind, and to make it easy for people to execute. Now, all the best ideas in the world, all the kind thoughts, all the big ideas are a waste of time if you can't implement them, and implement them immediately and easily, or at least take steps along the way to get closer to your goal or your outcome. So don't go out of your way trying to do things which you won't be able to follow through with and run out of time with. And it often happens with elections. You know, we have all these grand plans, but 3 years in office is never enough to be able to fulfill those desires, because you just run out of time, because people generally overcommit in the short term, and it takes a lot longer, sadly, to get things done in this day and age, because there are different interests at stake, and in order to get everybody on board takes time, takes effort, and there are other issues, other priorities that pop up which spoil the party for some along the way. So don't try and do too much, so rather try to keep things tight and focused. Now, the author also says another thing which I really like. If you want to change people's thinking, and if you want to change the way people behave, then one way of doing it is by changing the rituals. Because by changing the rituals, changing the way you go about things, the way you meet, the way the meeting is structured, allows people to think differently. So just don't gather for the sake of gathering, but gather with a purpose, and understand what that purpose is. And you need to understand also that every time you gather with people, it's a unique experience that won't ever happen again. Things like weddings, funerals, christenings, grand finals, awards meetings. You know, I can talk about this forever, but the point is that each unique get-together, each gathering, each meeting, each event is absolutely unique and will never ever happen again. So you need to harness that, you need to leverage that, and you need to make sure, where possible, that you're giving the participants the greatest opportunity to maximise, to make the most of that gathering or that opportunity or that get-together. So changing the rituals, and that's why sometimes when you're trying to bond with your team, it's great to do a love-in and to go away and to play golf and to travel overseas and just to do things, just to get away from the office, get away from the environment, get out of the house and just be somewhere else. Because a change in ritual, as the author says, makes people sometimes, hopefully, more comfortable. So it's all about creating a different vibe and being in a different sort of environment that will allow people to express themselves differently and be different and behave differently. So the author here says that it's important that a meeting or a gathering has the right energy, the right vibe, the right positive energy, the right spark. So, there are people, there are celebrities, there are team leaders who are just enigmatic, who just have that ability to, lighten up a room and to make things much more fun and much more enjoyable. They're, I guess, initiators of vibe and energy. And you know what I'm talking about. You can walk into a room, into a meeting, into an organisation, into a family. You just get that vibe. You just get that positive energy. That's something special that just lifts you. So it's up to the leader of a team or a family or a group to try and foster that sort of environment where you need to manage the meeting hogs. You need to be able to zoom out, drill down, and write what the meeting is about, what the meeting needs to solve, what the purpose is. Because as we've said time and time again, as humans, we are teleological in nature. You pose a problem to a group of people and they will gladly work to solve it. We want to solve it. We want to complete things. It's in our nature. So, and you often see, especially here in Australia, what I've noticed is that a lot of people that I know, and we've all been part of this, that our social lives end up becoming aligned to a charity calendar. People tend to invite you and sadly only invite you to charity events where, once again, it's got a good purpose and it brings good people together to do special things. But we need to have a balance, we need to make sure that our social life is not just social because it's an opportunity to be brought together to raise funds for a cause. Each and every one of us have a desire, I know that I do, and I'm sure that you do as well, to know that you belong in a group or an environment or a social circle, not because you're digging your hand deep into your pocket to contribute to some social cause, but because you're valued as an individual, regardless of the contributions that you make. But the author once again says here, it's important not just to hang out, but my own personal belief is that you do need to be able to hang out with people, and sometimes not even for a purpose, just to sit in a room, be with somebody, and just enjoy being with somebody and being with a group of people without having to do anything about it. The author finishes off the book by saying a beautiful quote that came from the Obama family, where I think his aunt or his grandmother said that no one is family, everyone is family. So you need everyone to make up a family or to create a function or a meeting. So I think I'll leave it there. It's probably time for me to head back to the train station and head off to work. But thank you for joining me on this Friday episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we've gone and examined another topic a little bit more deeply than usual. We've been able to do a walk and talk I've been able to showcase you Sydney at its finest, showing the ferries going to and fro, and basically taking you through a book entitled The Art of Gathering, where I've learned something new, and I've said before, I hope you have as well. So thank you once again, and I look forward to chatting with you over the weekend, over the Eastern Orthodox Easter weekend. And to all my Greek Orthodox friends, wishing you Kali Anastasi, happy Easter, and may you join your families and friends and community and express your love and admiration, and may you live your faith and be the best version you can possibly be. Take care everybody, Yassas, and bye for now.